Well, hello everyone, and welcome to beautiful Carmel, California. We are at the Carmel Mission Inn. We're on the second day of a 4-day workshop here that I am running my annual Winter Big Sur. We have had some tremendous light and some tremendous shooting opportunities so far. We're on a little break before our next class begins, and I want to introduce a good friend and colleague of mine, Mr. Curt Fargo. Curt is going to do a little video tutorial on sensor cleaning, and he is one of the premier experts in the country, and I would say in the world. So Curt, welcome.
Thank you very much.
And I want to mention before we go, Curt's also helping me as my second instructor on this workshop. I wanted to make sure you knew that. And tell us a little bit about yourself, Curt.
Well, I've been teaching sensor cleaning since the conception of DSLR needing to be cleaned by the repair shops first and then to the consumer. So I'm a very big advocate of the photographer being able to clean their own sensor because it's not always economical nor feasible to pay somebody else to do it. Plus, it takes a lot less time to clean your sensor than it does to get rid of that dust in post.
Yeah, and I can tell, I mean, you're a photographer, I'm a photographer, we're out all the time shooting. And especially with the newer mirrorless cameras. I guess they're not so new anymore now. They've been out for a while. But you'll tend, because the sensor has moved so much closer to that flange, I tend to see a lot more dust than when I was just shooting strictly with digital SLRs. How about you?
That's part of the problem with it being close to the flange. But the bigger problem is the fact that every time you take your lens off, every time you take that body cap off, that sensor is exposed to the environment. Where the DSLRs, they have the mirror and the shutter, they're blocking the dust from getting onto the sensor. They don't keep it off of there in the DSLRs, but it's a lot less cleaning than with the mirrorless.
Yes, correct. So I know Curt has actually taught a lot in my workshops, and he's taught a lot in Gary Hart's workshops. I work a lot with Gary. So I have been through this demonstration many times, but I'm going to turn it over to the expert here, and he's going to show you the proper sequencing of how you should go through and try to clean your sensor.
Okay, well, let's get into it now. The first thing we always need to know is there are a couple of precautions for cleaning your sensor to make it safe and easy. It is really an easy task. It's very safe to do, but let's follow a couple of precautions. Number one is we'll always clean the sensor in the camera's sensor cleaning mode. So put the camera into its cleaning mode. Yes, a lot of the mirrorless don't have a cleaning mode, but all the DSLRs do. And what the cleaning mode does is it opens the shutter and has it locked open, and it pulls the mirror up and out of the way. If your camera battery isn't strong enough, it may be grayed out in the menu options. You won't have the option to put it in cleaning mode. So don't ever try to clean your sensor with bulb or the 30-second exposure or something like that. So once we do get our camera into its cleaning mode, the first tool we should always use is a quality blower. Like the Giotto's rocket blower is the best blower out there. It's a good quality blower. Cheap blowers, and a lot of them out there, the Hurricane brands, they blow chunks of rubber onto the sensor. I've seen it firsthand. I've been frustrated by using other blowers. The Giotto's rocket blower is the best. So first of all, in this cleaning process, let's not even clean anything yet. Let's inspect it. So I use a loupe for the inspection, and we'll take a look at this sensor and see if there is actually dust on it. If there's no dust on it, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to use any of the tools whatsoever. But I shoot mirrorless, so 50% of the time I inspect, I've got dust.
Exactly.
It's something that's really critical. So again, look for the dust. If we've got dust, the first step is to turn the camera upside down, using the rocket blower, blowing air in a sweeping mode, try to get rid of the dust. You never want to stick this nozzle into the mirror cage because this nozzle will scratch the sensor. So keep it out and blow it. Then inspect, see if we've got dust. If we still have dust, we can blow some more. But to be honest, the blowers will only get rid of the big chunks. They won't get rid of that fine stuff very well at all. So I find that 90% of the time, probably even much higher than that, I've got to use a method more so than the blower.
Okay.
So my first choice in the dry method after the blower is the brush. With the brush method, it's a fine filamented nylon brush. We're going to blow air through the bristles of the brush. This creates a static charge on the brush and gets rid of the dust particles that were picked up from the previous cleaning. This is a spot cleaning process. So we'll remember where we saw the dust, and we're just going to go in here very lightly on the sensor and try to pick up the dust with that static charge. We're not using the brush as a scrubber. We're not trying to scrub that sensor cleaning. We're just trying to pick the dust up. Okay? After we've used the brush once, let's take a look at it, see if it's clean. If there's still a little dust there, and I actually do have some dust on this sensor, we've got to make sure mine's clean for this afternoon shoot. Can't be having dust. Again, I'll go into the area where that dust is, try to pick it up. And yep, I got it. So this camera's ready to go for this afternoon shoot. But this may be worse. You know, you may have a problem where you've got dust on there that's held on by moisture or pollen, or maybe it's dust that's been baked on there because you've left the dust on the sensor so long that it's gotten baked on the sensor. Mm-hmm. And then we've got to go to the wet method.
Okay, and I'm going to stop you right here for a moment before we go to this method. Last night we were talking about there are tools on the market, and I know because I own one called an Arctic Butterfly, where it's still the brush, but it's on a motor and it spins, and they're not cheap little units. They're $100, $150. Can you talk a little bit about, is there any preference one way or the other?
Well, for me, I prefer the L manual mode here. So let's go with the manual mode. Just because it's easier to carry and I carry so much stuff, I want my bag to be as light as possible. Yes, the spinning brushes work just as fine. The way they work is they spin and outside of the camera. You're not spinning them on the sensors. You know, don't make that mistake. And in that spinning process, it's flinging the dust off of the filaments, and it's putting air through them, which puts a static charge. So it's quick and easy. You don't have to use a blower. But I guess maybe I'm old school and I want to, have less with me.
And the price of a brush?
$19.95
versus $100 to $150 for the spinning brushes.
Correct, and they both do the exact same job.
Great. Okay.
But no batteries required.
No batteries required. So make your own decision there. You can choose what you want to do. So I think the next step you're going to get us into is the dreaded wet clean. And this is where I know other photographers just start to freak out.
Yeah, they really do, but that wet cleaning isn't needed as much as a lot of people think. If you keep your sensor clean to begin with, so that you're not getting dust that's baked onto the sensor, you only have to do a wet cleaning maybe 5% of the time. So about 90+% of the time, I can use just these three tools: my loop, brush, and blower. Well, all I need to get the sensor clean. So let's put the blower and the brush aside and let's talk about the wet cleaning method. And I have a demo camera here that we can use. So it's a little cutout, so you can see what I'm doing here. But with the wet cleaning method, what we're doing is we're taking a swab, properly sized, and we're going to put some chemical on the tip. For demonstration purposes, I'll touch this one, but normally you wouldn't touch one you can use on the sensor. We're only using the very leading edge of the swab. This is what we're cleaning with. We're not cleaning with the sides, but we do take the solution and put it onto the side. Just a couple drops, less is better. And then this fluid will wick to the tip. And we're going to go across one direction, then back, without lifting the swab off the sensor. So we're going to start on one side, go across. If you note, I am actually putting some pressure on it. I am bending it just ever so slightly, not going to lift it off. Going to turn around, go back the other direction, pull it off, and you throw it away. All swab manufacturers recommend that you use your swabs only once. You never reuse them.
Okay.
Reusing them is what can cause problems. It can pick up other particles and then may scratch afterwards. Our swabs are made in the USA. We're the only swabs made in the United States. And if you follow our procedures and using our products, we guarantee you won't damage your sensor.
Okay, and let me ask you something, because I think I've heard a loud gasp out there in our audience. Are you actually touching the actual sensor?
No, we're not touching the sensor. We are touching a filter in front of the sensor. We've always called it sensor cleaning since day one. We still refer to it as sensor cleaning. But what we're doing is we're cleaning a filter. And that filter may have different properties depending on what your manufacturer of your camera wanted. Maybe it has anti-aliasing, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's infrared. It could be all different things. But it's always a filter that we're cleaning. And the filter is replaceable if for some reason you get careless and damage your sensor. The manufacturers won't replace it, but there are independent repair shops out there with higher skilled technicians that will actually replace that filter for a lot less than the manufacturer wants to put a whole new sensor in your camera.
Yeah. And how many times, Curt, because you've been in the business quite a while, have you seen somebody actually damage a sensor by trying to clean it, wet clean it?
I personally have never witnessed anybody doing it, but because of my position as a trainer and an advocate for sensor cleaning, I've dealt with sensors that have been scratched trying to help out the consumer. Most of the time, it is somebody who has done a wrap your own swab and used a careless picking up some sand or something in the material they wrapped it with. The other thing is that maybe they didn't use a blower first and get the big chunks off of there, and that's why we use that blower first, is to get the big chunks out of there. And the other thing I've seen actually is I've seen two I know of firsthand, where people have taken this blower, stuck it inside the camera, and scratched the sensor with the tip of the blower.
Yeah.
So you've got to be kind of careless to damage a sensor. It's not very common at all. A lot of people put a lot of fear out there into the consumer about cleaning their own sensor. But there's also a lot of people that are saying this because they want to get your $50 or $75 to clean your sensor.
Exactly.
And sure, it's nice to be able to make $50, $75 for 5 minutes worth of work. But we as photographers, we need our sensors cleaned much more often than just the few times that we can have the convenience of taking it in to have somebody cleaning it. So like me on a shoot like we are out here, I'm going to check my sensor twice a day. And of course, since I'm shooting the mirrorless, I'm actually cleaning it probably one of those times. And that's, real quick process, just use a blower, the brush, and the loop.
Okay. And you gave us a great tip last night. I had asked you if there was any tips you could give us on changing lenses out in the field, and you talked about wind. And can you kind of relay that story that you told me last night?
Sure. So if I'm out in the field and I'm going to change the lens, first of all, I want to see how strong the wind is. If it's a really strong wind, real dusty environment, I'm not going to change the lens. Sure, I'll probably change it in 5-10 miles an hour. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the back of the camera to the wind and the camera facing down. If the camera is on a tripod, I would never have it straight up, take off the body cap and put it in the lens. We always want to make sure that the camera is facing down as much as possible. So I may not take it off the tripod, but I'll loosen the ball head and spin it so it faces down, take off the lens and have the other lens ready to go on right away. But I try to make it so that the back of the camera, whichever way it is facing, faces towards the wind so that we don't have anything blowing in.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a great tip. We see it all the time in the workshops, and I cringe because people take the cap off the camera and then they bend over and they're fishing around in their bag for that lens. So the quicker you can get the existing lens off and put the new lens on that you want, the better off we're going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to be ready. Have the body cap off, and the rear lens cap off the lens, at about the same time. Let's get them on there nice and quick, and without delay.
All right, and I want to tell people where now they can go to get your products. And I know you have a website you want to mention. Can you give us that information?
Sure. So you can learn about the Dust Patrol products at thedustpatrol.com. It's not a sales site. It's an informational site on the Dust Patrol products. But I have another website that I've kept going even much longer, and that's cleaningdigitalcameras.com. This is an educational site that looks at all the different manufacturers' products out there for sensor cleaning. There's some good, there's some bad, there's some ugly ones out there. But we review all the different cleaning products and let you know what's good to use and what's not good to use. But if somebody wants to purchase them, they can go to your website, to your affiliate section, and get a little bit of a discount.
And the link's up on the screen here, www.donsmithphotography.com, discounts and affiliates, and we're going to have that link available so you can go there and order the great products. And I can tell you, because I ordered just these products, it really, you'll get through your fear of doing this. I think people up to doing the blower and doing the brush, everybody's pretty comfortable with that. But when it gets into that wet cleaning, that's when I see the apprehension come in. And after you do it a couple of times, you'll really just go, wow, I've got this. It's not that hard.
And I'm available. If you go to the Dust Patrol's website, phone number's on there. More than welcome to give me a call, and I'll talk to you personally and walk you through any issues. But it is really that simple.
Yeah, and I can tell you from a person that processes almost daily, to keep a camera sensor clean is very, very important, or you're going to spend that time in post with the little clone staff trying to take your dust spots out. So Curt, I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down. I know we're really busy during this workshop. We got a class coming up here that's starting probably in about 20 minutes.
And nobody's knocking on the door yet, so.
Not yet, but, and if any of you out there are interested in taking my workshops, you can go to my website again, that's on my screen here, and just go to the workshop tabs and click on the workshops. We'd love to have you join us. We have a great time on these workshops. We've got a great group here, and we're shooting the Big Sur coast, and we've just had terrific light. It's been really amazing so far. Good group. So we learn a lot, and we'll have a lot of fun. Check it out. And until next time, if you like the content you're seeing here, please hit the subscribe button down below. We are hoping to do a lot more of these types of interviews with experts such as yourself on a variety of different topics. So if you like it, subscribe. And until next time, from Carmel, California, this is Don Smith. Take care.